Skydance is already having an influence over a Paramount, making big decisions to affect the future of Star Trek. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So about a year ago, I actually told you that there were murmurings over at Paramount about Strange New Worlds. That there were concerns from certain executives over at Paramount, very high up people over at Paramount, I should say. Some of them no longer work there, that were basically saying they weren't sure Strange New Worlds should go beyond a third season. And that in fact, what they should do is end Strange New Worlds on a high and bring in Legacy. The reasoning for that argument was really that they were concerned that Strange New Worlds was going to be stepping on the toes of the original series, and that it had already broken a fair few canon rules, and that really the longer it went on, the more it was going to step on the toes of, I say, the original series. Now, why is that a problem? The argument that these people were making was basically that Star Trek over the last few years, basically New Trek, has already stepped on the toes of a lot of original Star Trek canon. And that they felt that there was a serious risk that even though Strange New Worlds had been incredibly popular, not so much in the second series, but definitely the first series, and that they had characters in there that were very, very popular, that it was going to possibly alienate the original hardcore Star Trek fans if it started to really affect or change the rules from the original series. At the end of the day, there is still a hardcore set of fans there that look at the original series as really the most important element of Star Trek, the element of Star Trek really that we should be looking up to, and that would not forgive New Trek if they broke too many of those rules. Now, I've already said that actually Strange New Worlds is possibly my favourite Star Trek at the moment. I didn't love season 2. I will straight up say that. I hated the musical. I just did. I've watched it a couple of times since just to see if I really hated it as much as I thought I did. And you know what? I did. It's awful. But that's just my personal opinion. I know other people really loved it. I actually really also hated I didn't hate, but I really didn't like the first episode of the second season either. I thought it was terrible. There was that whole bit with Spock in the captain's chair, like going, what's your thing going to be? Michael Burnham says, let's fly. And the captain, what's yours going to be? And it was supposed to be funny, but it just didn't work. It was awful. But in the second season, the crossover episodes with the other Star Trek series we're going to be discussing in a minute, Lower Decks, I actually thought was brilliant. And I really, really enjoyed that episode. So, news that Strange New Worlds is going to get a fourth season was a little bit of a surprise to me, because I genuinely did wonder whether the people over at Paramount that, again, were making this argument might have won it in the end. But apparently, Skydance have stepped in. Now, Skydance are not currently the owners over at Paramount, but their influence is already being felt. A couple of people that sit on the chair over at Paramount have already stepped down, and there are certain changes that are already happening. Skydance's influence is already being felt. Now, as I said, they're not the owners, so they have no real authority. But as they are about to be the owners, their opinion is being heard. And I am being told that actually their opinion on Star Trek was requested. And that their opinion, very straightforward, was that they want to keep Strange New Worlds. That a fourth season was only greenlit because they gave it the green light. So, the people over at Skydance are having an influence and have signed on for another series of Strange New Worlds. But what about the news that the fifth season of Lower Decks will be its last? Well, apparently that was run by people high up at Skydance as well. And that, actually, decision came apparently from Skydance. That they want to move away from the animated series and they want to move back towards a core live action of Star Trek. Now, the same people that were talking about wanting to maybe axe Strange New Worlds after season 3 were also the same people that were very, very keen for Star Trek to get back to a more simplified version. They wanted one timeline, maybe two, and that they really weren't loving the animated stuff either. Now, for me, Lower Decks is probably consistently my favourite Star Trek over the last 5 years, we'll put it that way. I'm going to say that, it's like a love letter to TNG at times. It's got more Trekky and less funny over the last couple of seasons. Particularly the last season, a couple of those episodes were like proper Star Trek rather than just, an animated comedy version of Star Trek. It's not like it was like the Star Trek Rick and Morty at times. Felt more like Star Trek. And I always really loved that. I loved the character development. I just thought that it was, like I say, consistently the best. But can I understand why it's ending after 5 seasons? Probably. It's not the cheapest cartoon in the world to make. I will say that. Prodigy is also not inexpensive to make. And especially considering the amount of viewers it gets, it's not shocking. But Lower Decks has been consistently pretty popular. The fact that it got the crossover, etc., with Strange New Worlds is really proof of the confidence that Secret Hideout have in series like Lower Decks. So, why was it cancelled after 5 seasons? Well, there was sort of a comment from producers of Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks when this was announced. And one of the things the Lower Decks creator says was, "Oh, it's a miracle now if a season gets more than 5 seasons. Really is. It's amazing we got this many." And I'm going to call out bullshit on that. I'm sorry, but any television series that's popular enough will get more seasons. Because at the end of the day, these people just want to make money. And if shows making money, they will push it. Now, why would Skydance want to pull a TV show if it was making money? Well, I would argue that actually Lower Decks probably wasn't making the impact or the money basically that they would have hoped for, and that the lack of, let's say, momentum going forwards with Lower Decks was a bit of a problem. It was not really making the change that they would hope for, so therefore it's gone. Now, I actually think we're going to see less Star Trek moving forwards over the next few years, and Skydance seem to be wanting to already get involved in that now. So what is the future of Star Trek now Skydance are starting to make big decisions? I could actually see a lot more momentum towards the cinematic movies that, again, I'm hearing Skydance is very heavily involved in. I am not 100% certain the Star Trek 4 with Chris Pine, etc. will happen, but I actually think the Star Trek, this other movie that they're talking about that's going to talk about it's going to be an origin story. I'm actually being told it is going to be a movie based around Captain April and the launch of the Enterprise originally. I'm being told that's the idea for the movie. I think that's going to have a lot of weight now put behind it because of Skydance. We'll have to see about Star Trek 4 and J.J. Abrams moving forwards, but I would say that's 50-50 at best, whether that's going to happen. I do think Legacy will stay on the plan, and I do think Star Trek will concentrate more on live action. I actually think the next big news we're probably going to hear is Prodigy being cancelled, unless Netflix really, really push for it, but I think that's unlikely as well. So the Star Trek animated experiment could be about to end. But Strange New Worlds, I suspect it will also get a 5th season, but I think that will also be then the end of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'd love to know, guys, what you think about Star Trek Strange New Worlds getting a 4th season. Is that something you're excited by, or is it a little bit nervous considering what we got in the 2nd season? Bit of a mixed bag. Will you miss Lower Decks as much as I will? I'm actually genuinely gutted we're losing that series. Are you? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out, and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos do premiere first, and you get to see them without the adverts for a small contribution, obviously, that supports the channel. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.